Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Prog Monster, a site dedicated to progressive rock, hard rock, heavy metal, and other types of rock music. My name's Murph, and I am the host of this show. So today it's Wednesday night, so that means Wednesday night favorites. I know that some of you are expecting me to kind of start my three-parter tonight, but I've decided to give myself another week. It's a lot more to it than I was thinking it would be. So tonight we're going to do something else I had in the works. My top 25 rock solo artists. I did do a top 25 favorite bands. Tonight I'm going to do my top 25 favorite rock solo artists. There's a couple here that probably shouldn't be in here, or maybe they couldn't be in here in somebody's estimation, but the stuff I like for them I think is very rocky, and that's the reason I'm including them. Okay, so we're going to start. Basically, there's a 25, and we do this normally. Normally the way I do this is I do from ascending order. So I start at the bottom and work my way up to the top, number one guy. And then at the end of it, I'll do some honorable mentions too. So number 25 is from the Eagles, a guy whose voice I really love quite a bit, and his name's Don Henley. The thing about Don Henley I like quite a bit is his voice. I think his voice makes some of his music a little more forgiving too. A lot of his stuff I don't mind, but there's a lot of stuff that's kind of too countryish or too poppy for me. But generally speaking, I like him as an artist and as a vocalist. Number 24 also had a group that he named after himself, and then he also had a solo group which he used his full name in, but he's famous for being in a couple of big bands, two bands I like quite a bit, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, and of course, yes, we're talking about Ian Gillan, who is a screamer of a vocalist, great screaming vocalist. I tend not to like vocalists who do the screaming, but it's really more like screeching. The screeching part I don't care for, but he's not like that. He's one of the best screaming vocalists out there, and I really like his lyrics. I just like his whole strength of his voice. Number 23, one of my favorite vocalists of all time, great solo artist, was even better with the band he came from, but still out there singing, and he's still got a pretty good voice, and we're talking about Dennis DeYoung, former member of Styx. Number 22, a guy whose solo stuff I liked quite a bit. It's a little bit more poppy than the group he came from, but he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock writers of all time, and we're talking about Pete Townshend, and I like some of his solo stuff really quite a bit. Number 21, Edgar Winter. If for no other reason than Frankenstein, I love it. You know, gotta like a guy who can write about stuff like this. You know, Frankenstein. Love him. Anyways, next up, number 20, a member of Genesis, and I like a lot of the members of Genesis. I like a lot of their solo stuff, and we're talking about Mike Rutherford. I got the Acting Very Strange album, and I loved it quite a bit. I know he does Mike and the Mechanics too, so really good stuff. Number 19, often considered the greatest vocalist frontman of all time, and one of the greatest, if not the greatest, rock bands of all time. Yes, Robert Plant, former member and singer of Led Zeppelin, and great solo artist. But his albums are a little diversified. I like some of them quite a bit, some of them not so much, but I love his vocals, no matter what he's singing. Number 18, another member of Genesis, somebody I'm just starting to get into now, and I've just realized how good a guitar player this person is, and how strong their commitment to rock is. And they're the one group that still kind of sounds like Genesis quite a bit, and I'm talking about Steve Hackett, of course. Number 17, a guy I liked a lot when I was younger. I like his 70s stuff a lot. I have his greatest hits. I like some of the stuff, other albums that he put out in the 70s. Not such a big fan of stuff that came out in the 80s and beyond. And we're talking about Elton John. Number 16 was a guy I never really, you think I was a huge Kiss fan, so you would think that I would get into this guy big time, but I never did. until about 81 or 82 when I got into kind of a new wavy album that he put out, which was really different than anything else he had done. And we're talking about Flush the Fashion by Alice Cooper. But I've got a couple of his older albums and I quite like them. I've been listening to them. So he's moved up in my esteem. Number 15, I think this is the first female vocalist. Yep, it is. Underrated, as far as I'm concerned. Powerful voice, great stage presence, some really good classic, and not a bad looking woman too. We're talking about Pat Benatar. And just, I think she's a little bit unsung. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe she's got in this year, or maybe she's going to get in. Number 14, a guy whose voice sounds the same as it did in '69, still sounds the same today, could easily front the band again. There seems to be a difference or conflict between him and Steve Howe, largely, I think. And we're talking about John Anderson of Yes. So, yeah, great. And he's got some stuff where he worked with Vangelis that's pretty damn good, too. Number 13, I love his Graceland album. I think it's one of the greatest solo albums of all time. On the strength of that album alone, he's up here, and that's Paul Simon. Number 12, rhythm and blues and guitar hooked together. One of the best at it. Had 2 or 3 really good albums at the beginning. I love them all. Was in a phase area when I was listening to this music a lot, and I still think he's really good. And we're talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Okay, on number 11 comes a Canadian whose voice I love a lot, who sang with a big band. That band used to tour with Rush all the time, but he has a lot of fairly good pop songs, especially on his first few albums, and we're talking about Kim Mitchell. Number 10, legendary vocalist of Black Sabbath, singing all those classics together, did them on his own solo album, and made his way as a solo artist, in which he really kind of blew up a bit. And we're talking about Ozzy Osbourne. Number 9, another member of Genesis, another great vocalist, somebody who has probably too many pop songs, but has a lot of really solid songs that I quite like a lot. And we're talking about Phil Collins. Number 9, sorry, I almost blanked out there for a second. The legendary greatest guitarist, left-hander guitar of all time, I think, and we're talking about Jimi Hendrix, James Marshall Hendrix. Just a fantastic guitar player. He could do things that people can only dream about. Number 7 is one of those kind of pop divas, but I really love her first album a lot. It's a heavy, like I would call it heavy pop, really heavy pop, and not a lot of kind of weird shit on there. Her next 3 albums were pretty good as well, but she makes it on the strength of her number one album for me, and which is her opening album, or debut album. It's called Miley Cyrus. So yeah, there you have it, Miley Cyrus, number 7. Number 6, legendary performer, great stage presence, kind of a different voice, but lots of really solid albums, lots of really solid songs. One of the greatest singers of all time, and he's still listening to stuff by him quite a bit, and we're talking about David Bowie. Next up, another pop diva, but her first 3 albums have a lot of reggae, a lot of blues, a lot of island music, a lot of rhythm and blues, and some pretty poppy stuff too as well. And there's a couple of songs that are pretty heavy in the discography. Her name's Rihanna, or Robin Fenty. So that's my number 5, Robin Fenty or Rihanna. Number 4, my favorite singer of all time. Loved him with Black Sabbath. Loved his Rainbow Rising. Loved his first solo album. Still love a lot of them. Anyways, he's Ronnie James Dio. Yep. Okay, number 3, Steve Miller. I love Steve Miller. I have his greatest hits. If I never have anything else, that's enough. But I have a couple of his other albums too, and deeper tracks are pretty good too, but his best stuff is still the stuff that I heard the most was growing up. So he's in third. Number 2, Canadian icon and legend. Clearly number 2 here. There's nobody around him really. And he's got like 3 or 4 really solid albums that I have that I like listening to. Got a kind of a voice that is fairly easy to imitate for me. Caught you knocking at my cellar door. I love you, baby. Can I have some more? Yes, Neil Young. And of course, number 1, another Genesis member. Almost gave it away. I love all of the solo stuff. I love all of his stuff with Genesis. I think he's one of the greatest musicians of all time, and he's my number 1 or number 8 overall in my bands, if you put the bands in there with him. And you're talking about Peter Gabriel. So there you have it. My top 25, and honorable mentions go out to I'll give those after I repeat. I'm going to go from top now, from number 1 to number 25, just to repeat the artists I have. You got Peter Gabriel, Neil Young, Steve Miller, Ronnie James Dio, Rihanna, David Bowie, Miley Cyrus, Jimi Hendrix, Phil Collins, Ozzy Osbourne, Kim Mitchell. Whoa, I almost passed it again. Oh. Was thinking about something and drifted for a second there. So anyways, honorable mention, we're going to redo them all again. I'll just read them out. Peter Gabriel, number 1. Neil Young at number 2. Steve Miller at number 3. Ronnie James Dio at number 4. Rihanna or Robin Fenty at number 5. David Bowie at number 6. Miley Cyrus at number 7. Jimi Hendrix, James Marshall Hendrix at 8. Phil Collins at number 9. Ozzy Osbourne, or John Osborne if you prefer, at number 10. Kim Mitchell at number 11. Stevie Ray Vaughan at number 12. Paul Simon at number 13. John Anderson at number 14. And Pat Benatar at number 15. 16 is Alice Cooper. 17 is Elton John. 18 is Steve Hackett. 19 is Robert Plant. Number 20 is Mike Rutherford. Number 21 is Edgar Winters. Number 22, Pete Townsend. Number 23, Dennis DeYoung. Number 24, Ian Gillan. And last but not least, Don Henley in number 25. So some of the artists that didn't make the list: Devin Townsend, Gary Moore of Thin Lizzy, Chris Squire, former bass player for Yes, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, and George Harrison are all honorable mentions here. I like them all quite a bit, and they're all Beatles, of course. So there you have it, my top 25 favorite rock solo artists of all time. I hope you enjoyed this video. And for those of you waiting on the 3-parter, that should start next week for sure. I'll be ready by then. And I hope to do a good job so that it's at least entertaining for all that participate. So from Prog Monster on, have a good evening. Bye.